34 rigs operating in the state, 540 wells drilled. The pace has increased in 2013. Now, those wells cost anywhere, you'll hear, the oil companies will always give you the high number. They'll talk about 10 million. There's somewhere between 5 and 10 million. Over time, those costs do come down. But even if you use conservatively 5 million a well, you can see that's $2.5 billion of investment just in the drilling of the wells. That doesn't include the billions of dollars that have been paid in lease bonus to actually get the leases. At the beginning of the year, we had 45 wells producing. Today, we have 150 wells producing. That's all because the midstream assets are starting to come online, and the companies are able to separate out the liquids, get the methane gas to the natural gas pipelines, and then get those other liquids to marketplace. So $6.5 billion plus of midstream and pipeline projects in the state, and probably more to follow.
A lot of what occurs out there actually starts below the ground, and so we'll give you a quick geology lesson here. This is the Marcellus shale layer is really where all this started over in Pennsylvania. And to illustrate that, the Marcellus actually comes into Ohio as well, but we don't talk about Marcellus in Ohio, we talk about Utica, and I'll explain why that is. The Marcellus play here, this is actually the depth of the Marcellus play. And what happens when it comes into Ohio, and you see down here on the cross section, this is the Marcellus, it's actually fairly close to the surface, which you think would be a good thing. Well, when it comes to oil and getting things out of the ground, you actually need them deep in the ground so that the pressure of the ground itself pushes things up. It is actually deeper as it comes into Ohio, gets a lot deeper as it goes back into Pennsylvania, which creates a different kind of problem. Now it's tougher to get to. But the reality of it is, in this part of the state we're going to go see today, that Utica layer is pretty much at an ideal depth, and it's also at a thickness of a couple hundred feet or more, so you can actually get into it and do something with it. In particular, what's unique about eastern Ohio is, as you work your way through this geology, there's this section, this little sliver, that they call the rich gas fairway. And what happens in that sliver, there's kind of a unique formation there, it's called the Point Pleasant Formation. And in that area, it's actually a place where oils and liquids have settled. And so for Ohio, the reason why it's such a big deal, and particularly in this region we're talking about, they can not only get the dry gas out, but they can get liquids out as well. And you'll see in a minute that actually the liquids are more valuable than the gases.
There's more technology and more money being spent than I could ever imagine in places that I didn't know existed. But what they're doing out there in terms of mining for materials for gas and oil out there was phenomenal. You have to go learn this industry. This industry is very different from what we're used to in Ohio. Oil and gas is not something that we've seen very often, nor do we see it to this magnitude. You have to engage experts both legal and within that field to understand the companies, understand the players, and understand their needs.
You will find oil and gas in nearly 2/3 of the state of Ohio. Over 260,000 wells have been drilled in this state over the last 150 years, and have developed these primary fields. Most of it in the modern era is over in eastern Ohio. That's because of geology. There's a thing called the Cincinnati Arch that runs right down through here and divides the state geologically.
What we're seeing is not only are wells going in, we are now starting to see production facilities develop, and they are coming in with out-of-state money, and you're seeing things. We were on site of a $500 million processing facility. It's one of several that's going in right now, and we also got to go, it's nothing but raw land and a rail track, but we got to go past another project that could potentially be a $200 million rail processing facility that one of our members is working on. And I think that's just the edge. As we see more and more of this, there will be more opportunities with office, industrial, and housing and retail that our members can work with these local communities on.
Hi, I'm Bill Acton. As chair of the 2013 Central Ohio NAIOP Bus Tour, we thank our sponsors and speakers for making this event happen. NAIOP welcomes any questions you may have about Utica Shale, real estate development in the region, mineral rights, and how it affects Ohio. Contact us today